Good morning, and thank you for joining us to learn more about the Baltimore Street redevelopment project. We appreciate your time and interest in our city's future. Today, I am pleased to announce the City of Cumberland has reached another important milestone in the process of reimagining our city's historic center. This effort is a giant first step in revitalizing one of our community's most important assets and will position us for future growth, reinvestment, and opportunity. Several years ago, city officials identified the need for significant upgrades to outdated water and sewer lines, electrical systems, and stormwater management resources located beneath the bricks of Baltimore Street. In addition, the city recognized a lack of fiber optic cable prohibited businesses from competing in a digital world and set the goal of achieving a gigabyte in the city's commercial core. As plans developed, several city partners encouraged the exploration of a more ambitious and comprehensive approach, one that would not only address below-grade infrastructure, but would also tackle many of the challenges from construction of the pedestrian mall. Nearly 7 years later, finishing touches are being made to the plans, which now include a total renovation of Baltimore Street, replacement of below-grade utilities, addition of fiber optic cable, which will provide internet service up to 40 times faster than broadband to downtown businesses and residences, and the complete redesign of the streetscape to include one-way traffic, a curbless design, increased safety features, landscaping, and public art. The project has evolved from one born of necessity to one which creates a stunning new vision for our community. As the final plans are completed, they will then be presented to the Maryland Department of Transportation and Federal Highway Administration for review. While that process may take several months, once finalized, the project will then be put to bid. We are hopeful to break ground by the end of 2021 or early 2022, but want to emphasize the next steps of the process lie beyond our control. We assure members of the public the project continues to gain momentum and steam, and we look forward to sharing updates with you as they become available. Today, I am pleased to announce a brand new website which will become the dedicated home of the Baltimore Street redevelopment project moving forward. The site will serve community residents and businesses pre-construction, during, and post-construction. The website, which can be found at www.historiccumberlandcitycenter.com, will include answers to commonly asked questions, contain informational videos, will link to the complete design plan, renderings and visuals, and once the construction phase begins, will update residents about street closures, utility impacts, and more. The website's goal is to provide a single place for information related to the project with the most up-to-date information available. I encourage you to bookmark the page and visit it often for updates. The website is now active with today's live stream event, and the fully completed website will be finalized by early summer. Through the course of the planning phase of this project, reports have circulated focused on project delays and possible budgetary shortfalls, leaving some members of our community to consider the project to be doomed before the first shovel is in the ground. I understand that frustration, and I want to emphasize that municipal projects of this size and scope are extraordinarily complicated, requiring an intensive network of engineers, architects, city planners and administrators, designers, economic development entities, artists, and funders. And along the way, a significant number of hurdles and red tape to be cut through. While it may seem sometimes as if the project is stalled or has lost momentum, quite the opposite has happened. Over the course of the last year, a growing coalition of community partners has emerged, working together to secure funding, provide resources, and develop a marketing and communications effort to distribute information publicly. As we've learned about communities who have successfully undertaken this type of project, emphasized time and again is the importance of careful planning. To reduce risk, avoid waste of hard-earned funds, and to ultimately deliver a product which not only meets but exceeds the community's needs and expectations. I promise you, we are deeply committed to this effort. The original budget, developed more than 3 years ago, estimated the project's cost at roughly $9.5 million, but did not include several key elements which have since been incorporated and will certainly increase the overall estimate. We anticipate the arrival of a new project budget which will assist us in determining a more accurate projection. But even without the final numbers in hand, considerable work is underway to secure outside funding. To speak more about these efforts is Matt Miller, Executive Director of the Cumberland Economic Development Corporation. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor. As our Mayor has expressed, securing the necessary funds to complete this project has been an ongoing venture since this project's inception. The CEDC and its many partnering agencies have worked diligently to locate available grant opportunities and apply for them. To date, we have successfully secured or allocated more than $9.1 million in approved funds. These allocations include a $5.2 million grant award through the Transportation Alternative Program, or TAP, that is funded by the Federal Highway Administration and administered by the Maryland Department of Transportation. This funding also requires a city match of approximately $1.3 million, which has largely been absorbed in the planning and design of the project. A $1.25 million grant award from the Appalachian Regional Commission, and also with the assistance of the Western Maryland delegation, we have secured 2 grants through the governor's capital budget totaling $1 million. A $402,000 grant has been secured through the Community Development Block Grant Program, and a $20,000 grant from the Maryland Heritage Area Association. In addition to the funds which have already been secured, we have submitted several additional grant applications, which, if awarded, would provide an additional $450,000 in support, further narrowing the gap and minimizing the need for local financial contribution toward the project. It is also important to understand grant funding is awarded through a very competitive process, and funds are extremely limited in their use. Contrary to belief, grant funds may not be used outside of their intended purpose or to support other projects within the city. Applications require extensive detail, and applicants are required to adhere to the original application, budget, and requests. Moving forward, the CEDC and our partnering agencies will continue to actively seek available funding for this project until we have reached our goal or there are no other avenues to explore. Either way, a new and vibrant Baltimore street will soon become a reality with a minimal local expenditure. For additional questions about funding or other project elements, please contact the CEDC at www.choosecumberland.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. In addition to our brand new project website, we are also excited to show for the first time a series of 3 renderings, which will offer a first glimpse of the design plan as it relates to our streetscape. The renderings feature a newly designed Baltimore Street Welcome Plaza, a view of the length of Baltimore Street, and a look at the proposed plans for the Liberty Street Plaza. The renderings showcase potential art projects in places which have been identified and incorporated as future sites of public art, with final decisions to be made through public art best practices. The renderings are an exciting first look at our new downtown, and they are the result of thousands of hours of work, interviews, photographs, and review of our city by the project's architect, artist, and public space designer, William Cochran. Through the course of the project, Residents have asked many questions about various aspects of the plan and about the inspiration behind it. Let's spend some time with the project's designer, William Cochran, who will show the renderings and answer many commonly asked questions.
So it starts at the entrance with sending a signal of welcome, and it will look fun. I think when you see it for the first time, it will look like a fun place to go, a fun, interesting, diverse, kind of green place to go, and that will draw you in. I think that the entrance on Mechanic Street to the new downtown will be one of the things that's most transformed. We've pushed out the sidewalk much farther toward Mechanic to protect pedestrians because cars come through there pretty quickly. But I think when you first see the new downtown from that angle, you'll be amazed at how green it is. You'll be amazed at, once the trees get large enough, the canopy overhead. It will be very inviting. There'll be a work of sculpture right at the entrance. There'll be these beautiful high tensile shade structures that almost look like birds that shade the entrance plaza, the welcome plaza, where you'll find amenities like a water fountain and wayfinding signage, a place to lock your bike, and for the first time ever, a new freestanding, very well-designed outdoor restroom that will be part of it. But the street itself will unfold almost like chapters with these in-ground planters and raised mobile planters that are teeming with flowers. Immediately you'll see the umbrellas of the outdoor cafes, and they'll likely be crowded. If you walk a little further, you'll come to the center of the project, where there's a 28-foot tall, wide, 14-foot tall waterfall. In front of it, tables and chairs scattered under these beautiful lacy canopies of thornless locust trees, and the pavers are light. The walls are colorful with the work of very good, very high quality artists. And it's the kind of place people look for to go and to spend time. And it's the place people will linger, I think. I've always thought of Cumberland as a city of daring because the history is filled with acts of daring, of living on the edge. You don't have to look very far to find George Washington and his forays from Fort Cumberland here. You don't have to look very far before you find the Embassy Theater and its Art Deco style, which is not like Art Deco elsewhere. It was built at the dawn of Art Deco when it was only a few years old, launched in Paris. And Cumberland must have had one of the earliest examples. And I have a photograph parked in front as a car designed by some of the foremost designers of their day. There was always this focus on pushing forward and achievement. The businesses and the manufacturing that happened here could only happen with a great deal of risk taking and willingness to face down the long odds. The fact that this caliber of architecture is here in such a distant place from other major cities makes it all the more remarkable. The fact that a lot of care went into the fabrication, the craftsmanship of these buildings requires a lot of investment and a lot of faith in the future. The new city center is built around a set of values and ideas and strategies and principles. And those are where the real value of the plan lies. The founding values of this plan are elegance, simplicity, quality, sustainability, and balance. As it happens, if you want to appeal to children, those are the same things that children respond to, just like grown-ups. If you want people to come down to this beautiful historic city center, and if those things are in evidence all around you, people will come. It'll be magnetic. The idea of simplicity, a street that is coherent and orderly and organized, and you know where you are at all times, and you can see clear from one end of the street to the other at all times, and yet you know it's sustainable, that it has a lot of features that help manage stormwater and cool the street, protect the historic buildings, foster social interaction, a lot of a strategy of function stacking where every need is addressed in a way that also addresses 2 or 3 other needs, and every dollar spent addresses multiple purposes at the same time. Elegance is as much about using resources wisely and well to address many needs as it is about the visual simplicity of the design. Elegance means the choice of materials that sets off the historic architecture and doesn't try to one-up them, but defers to them. When we talk about function stacking, because we have one shot at this street, and it's replacing all the utilities under the street. City streets are packed with utilities underneath. It's really important that we have multiple strategies that will strengthen the street over time. And in this case, the 3 main strategies involve building it as an urban forest, which means tall, large canopy shade trees as tall as the buildings that overhang the street, throwing dappled light down below, but keeping visibility open underneath, and low plantings, colorful plantings that are part of the earth and that help manage stormwater and cleanse pollution and so on. These things will make a far more livable street, and it's really following the model of nature, the way that forests grow with tall tree trunks with the canopies way up high and then low plantings on the forest floor. It's also a flexible street. It's easy to close for events. You can close the whole downtown, or you can close one block, and you can have festivals in many different ways and formats. And it's a social street. It's designed to enliven the social fabric, places where you run into people that you know, places to hang out. The third strategy is the creative core. It's where the arts are. It's where the Arts Council is. It's where the theaters tend to be. It's where if you have public performances, you're going to want to have them. It's where kids come and can do chalk murals on the street. They can't hurt anything. The creative core is where every utilitarian function communicates. The grates for the trench drains communicate to children what they're for, drops of water that are embossed into the actual iron of the drain. There are a lot of things involving human creativity which should be part of every healthy downtown. And they're here in spades. There'll be many, many different opportunities for people to experience the creativity of their fellow human beings. It's precisely when things are at their most desperate that vision becomes incredibly important. If you become hypnotized by all of the challenges you face, you start to downsize what you think is possible. That's a mistake. It's very important to decide what needs to happen here now, whether or not we can afford it, and then pursue that wisely so that you can achieve what's really required. Half a loaf does not answer anything. Money has a way of following vision and not the other way around. You don't get a pot of money and then decide what needs most to spend it on. You figure out what your biggest needs are, and then you pursue those. In this case, I think for every dollar the city will eventually invest in this new reconstruction of this street, outside sources will invest 3 or 4 times that much. So the city will leverage the part of the funding it will put into construction, and it's put nothing into construction yet. It will leverage that and obtain for residents $3 or $4 for every dollar it spends. And by doing that, it will be able to address a whole range of issues: economic development, new utilities under the street, pedestrian safety, a huge, huge economic development support for local businesses, and probably most important, a social center, the most important gathering spot for this community, the place where people will come when they have time. It'll be a new center that the city will be proud of. Downtown redevelopment is a core effort that takes years to pull off. It's very complicated to do correctly. It's very complicated to do at all. But it also pays off, not just for years, but for decades. So we make these investments because, not just because it's a quick fix. There are no quick fixes here. We make it because an investment like this can put Cumberland's feet on higher ground. Cumberland can begin to embark on this long, big upswing. It's been on the downswing for so long now, it's forgotten there can be a rise in fortunes. And this is a way in one relatively small area, 9 square blocks or so, to leverage a whole new kind of future where people who live here are rewarded for it. This is the long game, and this is the game cities must play today. This is the game everyone is competing to play better so they can attract businesses and jobs. This is the investment that puts Cumberland in that game now. People may think that this is a City of Cumberland project, and it is, but it's the city's multiple partners in downtown development, the arts, economic development, that have really driven and shaped this process and the engagement of the community in it right from the beginning, from 2014, which at this point is 8 years ago, when the Arts Council had their placemaking workshop, when the DDC began investigating a new vision for downtown that could address all of the challenges in one go, when the CEDC became heavily involved in developing the project further. All of these nonprofit partners are invaluable in their work with the city. The strongest visions in a downtown usually result from this kind of public-private partnership. And in this case, it's never been more true. This project from the very beginning has been a public-private partnership, and it's been the private organizations working with the city to bring along an understanding of just how valuable this vision could grow that have nurtured it all the way along. The city of Cumberland has been very diligent in engaging previous consultants who did good work with the community in terms of engagement and charrettes and public opinion surveys and gathering up what people want to see. And there was a remarkable consensus for opening the street to 1 lane of traffic. We are very interested in using the input from residents, and we go to a lot of trouble to organize events so that we can extract maximum amount of information from the most people in the shortest possible period of time using special techniques of public participation designed to help a room full of 50 people come to a consensus in a short order. The street design is driven by the input of all these people. And we have people who have given many different ideas, and everything that's in the street has been reflected in those comments, and in turn those comments are reflected in the design of the street. I think that this street will be far more pedestrian friendly when this new downtown is built than it is now. I think that, yes, a single lane of traffic, a very narrow lane of traffic is being introduced. Cars will have to go very slowly. It's designed to intimidate drivers a little bit so that they have to pay attention to other people, and they have to proceed carefully, which is exactly as it should be. 23-foot wide sidewalks on each side of a 10 or 12-foot wide street. You can see where the priorities are. But not only will cars have to go slowly, this is a street that's designed primarily, in a way, for bicycles. So cars are going maybe 5 or 10 miles an hour. Bicycles can proceed at a normal pace. That kind of activity as a stream through the downtown helps animate the street. It's perfectly safe to walk across the street when traffic is moving that slowly, similar to a parking lot. Sure, you look and you wait, you make eye contact with the drivers. That kind of social connection is important for building community, but This is a street without curbs. When you close the street, which is as easy as moving these mobile planters together in front of the street, there are no curbs. You can walk straight across. The street is lined with flower beds embedded in the ground, which also serve as rain gardens. So it's a terrific place to spend time with or without the traffic. But without the traffic, it doesn't have the level of animation and liveliness and vibrancy that it needs. You want traffic, just want a little bit of it, and you want it to move slowly and smoothly through the street. Some people do think that this plan might hurt outdoor restaurants. I think it will transform them. I think that the restaurants will do so much better, especially the outdoor cafes. If you like outdoor cafes, I think you're going to like this plan, because studies show people go to outdoor cafes to people watch and to be outdoors and enjoy a meal, of course, but to people watch. And for that to happen, there need to be people to watch. So when the pedestrian mall is filled with people and they're pouring in for this or that event and so on, outdoor cafes become very busy and it can be hard to get a table. That's the kind of problem that you want. Yes, this project might cause problems for restaurants, mostly because I think they'll be a lot busier than they have been in the past. I think they'll have more room for tables. I think it'll be a much more organized and satisfying place to have a meal. I think they'll work better. I think the outdoor cafes will be closer to the establishments. There are so many benefits that are coming for restaurants. I think cafes are absolutely core to the identity of the downtown, and we have really tried to support them in every possible way in this plan. There are outlets at the base of every street pole. There are water faucets on every block on both sides of the street. There are so many things we have done to make it work for restaurants. I'm really excited to have my first meal in a new outdoor cafe when the new streetscape is done. The new Baltimore street is not a street. It's a place and it's a space. It's a community space from street wall to street wall and from the ground all the way up to the top of the buildings. That is the space that is designed to support this community. Yes, it's about mobility and connection and traffic, and that's a healthy thing, but only enough to stay in balance with the real drivers. This is a pedestrian-friendly space. This is a space designed for a premium pedestrian experience. That is where people want to be. That's where the businesses are, or used to be. A lot of them still are. That's where businesses will come back because the people will be there. The reason why public art is so important to this downtown is really threefold. And one reason that makes it important to the whole city is because the downtown is important to the whole city. It's the symbolic center. It's the heart of Cumberland. The public art is there to really enliven things. The job of the artist is to blow everybody's mind. You have some of the finest artists working in the city that I've seen anywhere. And there are opportunities and there are challenges that artists are best equipped to solve. One of the challenges is we have 4 blind facades, blank walls that are not animating to the streetscape. They're not what you want in a lively downtown. Those are ideal scenarios for works of public art that are colorful and that can bring a counterpoise to the sort of boxy orthogonal architecture like all American cities are full of, with lines that flow and are playful and are colorful, and that you're trying to figure out what it is the artist had in mind, but you keep forgetting because you're so enchanted by the line work and by the color or by the sculpture. A sculpture that is made out of heavy steel and yet it looks like it can fly. These are things that can really animate this streetscape in a way that nothing else can. And you get a huge bang for your buck when it's done properly. And the catalyst is a third element that's added to a combination of elements in a solution that causes a lot of change to happen very rapidly. And I always look for projects that have the potential to be catalytic in nature because they can make huge beneficial changes. It's not just about designing a street. It's about positioning Cumberland to take advantage of these mega trends that are finally turning again in Cumberland's direction, in Cumberland's favor. We've all seen in this recent pandemic how easy it is to work remotely. If you have a computer, you can work anywhere. The street will allow the inclusion of a gigabyte downtown, where suddenly Cumberland is wired into the global economy directly for the first time. It can create a way to leverage the architecture, which has kind of been partially offline because of the difficulties around the pedestrian mall, and which are second to none in the world. Just one picture of the finished streetscape with all the architecture, fully visible again, will make a huge difference. It'll make people want to come here. Most importantly, the idea of having a community gathering place that is truly magnetic and draws people. If residents love coming, visitors will love coming. And when people come and spend their money, especially visitors, they generate tax revenue, which pays for all the things that we need so badly. But you don't have to fund schools and things to fund their, for their children and so on. They come, they spend money, and they leave. You don't have to provide them services. So it's an investment in a new future that can be catalyzed because Cumberland has preserved its architecture, because Cumberland has an extraordinary place to do this, because it has such a strong consortium of private organizations working hand in hand with the city every day to pull it off, because Cumberland is poised for an economic comeback. This is the right moment to leverage that. That's what a catalytic project is all about. This is a way to drive a lot of positive change, not just economic development, but certainly that over many decades. One role the community can play in this project right now is to keep an open mind, because everyone's out there suffering in a tough economy and a pandemic and so many different challenges we face. It's easy to become discouraged. And when you see the government not being able to solve everything at once, it's easy to criticize. So this particular government and this particular group of nonprofits working for this vision are doing it on your behalf. And if you think about them as your local football team that you should be cheering on, if they put this in the end zone, you will definitely benefit. So the first thing is to learn more about this plan so you too can get as excited as they are. The plan is available online. More information will be opening up every week from now on. The more you know, the more excited you will get. You'll also start realizing that there are so many ways to become involved. This is going to become one of your new favorite places, a place to spend time, a place to come with friends. This is something to be excited about, and it's happening in your city, it's happening in your county. So look for the opportunities to be involved. Reach out to anyone involved in it and ask them, what are some of the new opportunities? And if you don't hear what you want, reach out to somebody else. Get involved. The success of this project and this city is driven entirely by the number of people who drive it forward.
I want to thank you for taking time to join us today and for your support in moving our city forward. I want to also remind you to visit the project's new website, www.historiccumberlandcitycenter.com, where you can explore the design plan in greater detail, learn about the project's goals and principles, read studies which support the design strategy, and stay current on the latest developments. Our community has faced many challenges over the past decades, and we are beyond due for a victory. Our goal is simple: to make the city of Cumberland a place which is vibrant, economically prosperous, where businesses thrive, where our visitors and residents flock for arts and culture, and where people stop and stay. While there is a great deal of work ahead of us, we are up for the task. Thank you for joining us.